Welcome to the Savvy Leader Podcast. We're so excited to have you here. This is the perfect place for leadership growth, learning, and inspiration. Let's get started. This episode of the Savvy Leaders Lounge, I'm really looking forward to this conversation with Rachel Edwards. She has developed some incredible things that dive into mindset and coaching, and I'm going to let her share a little bit more about herself with you. So go ahead, Rachel, tell us all about your wonderful self. I can't wait.
Well, thank you, Kristen, for having me here today. I'm really excited to tell you all about the blueprint. But first and foremost, I am Rachel. I'm the founder and CEO of Insperai, but that is not my first startup journey. I have always been fascinated by behavior, why people do what they do, whether that's professionals or organizations as a whole, teams, or even um, criminal behavior. I actually started out my first go round working with behavior was with inmates and offenders. My background is in forensic behavioral analysis. And for those wondering, yes, that is exactly like Criminal Minds. Though real life stories are almost always more weird. So I spent about 10 years working directly with inmates and offenders to modify their behavior and try to reintegrate successfully. Um, Took a little bit of a hiatus to stay at home with my firstborn, and it didn't take me long to realize that I was not stay-at-home mom material. I needed a little bit more intellectual stimulation. I loved it. Loved um, that time in my life of learning who I was and what direction I wanted to go in, and had always thought I would go right back into forensics. But in a moment of really trying to discover myself, I got into mindfulness and mindset coaching, working with a mindset coach, and was fascinated by the framework of how we think, feel, and do, and how that directly correlates to our outcome. So I decided I was going to become certified in mindset coaching and meditation and brought those two together because I truly believe that you need to calm the body, calm the brain to be able to access the rational part of your brain, to be able to apply any strategies and action planning that you work through in mindset coaching. So that is what became Pebblebrook Wellness. And um, that is really where I decided I loved working with people and coaching on burnout and really understanding the deeper levels of how humans think, feel, and do, essentially.
All of it is so fascinating to me.
Yeah,
It is all so fascinating.
yeah,
I really want to touch on the criminal minds piece of it and then
hmm
the calming minds piece of it. But
yeah,
first,
yeah.
this behavioral personality inspire
Inspirai.
help me.
Mm-hmm.
Inspire. Thank you.
Inspirai. Yes.
It's incredible, and I'm just so impressed with how you came up with all of this. Share a little bit about that journey with us, and what spurred all of this on. Tell me more.
Yeah, so Inspirai, the name Inspirai was actually inspired by a little bit of Latin and Greek um, terminology for inspiration, wisdom, enlightenment. And that's really what we wanted to evoke with our company and our tool, that you are digging deeper than anything out there to understand how you're truly wired, and you're becoming inspired to take action and make impact in your life, your business, uh, elsewhere. So when I created the tool, I didn't go out to create a personality assessment tool. That is not what my dream was. Actually, my dream job, if I were to throw it out there, would be storm chasing. totally out of the realm of what I do, and not in all of it, because I'm not an adrenaline junkie. Um, and I'm pretty risk averse, but to see, my background of working with inmates and, dreaming of being a storm chaser was really fascinating contradictions to how I was wired. So, in an effort to understand myself, and also to understand my clients and how to best guide my clients when I was working through their burnout and planning their action plans and their goals. I was looking for a tool that could help me with that. And I looked at getting, Enneagram certified, DISC certified, Myers-Briggs, Clifton, Gallup Clifton Strengths, all of those. And I thought, well, isn't there a tool that looks through multiple lenses to see how these different facets of human behavior, of human wiring, interact and influence each other, and then how they show up in somebody, and then connects it to real world experiences to then provide ultra tailored solutions based on how somebody's wired. And when I found out that there was nothing like that, that's when I began my journey to create it. So, um, yeah, I kept seeing that there were so many personality tools out there that offered really great insights, and
Mhm.
really pinpointed, especially through the lens that they were assessing, whether that's communication or leadership or your strengths or your motivations and fears. But a lot of times they stopped at insight and they didn't give you any strategy or action what to actually use with that. So oftentimes what happens is you take the assessment, you're like, great, I love this. This says exactly who I am. And then you put it away and you never look at it again. Well, I wanted to bridge that, uh,
Yes.
bridge the gap of insights with action, strategic action. And I did not want to place more labels on somebody, um, because
Mm.
I wanted to bridge the gaps between the labels. We don't need just another way to describe ourselves. We need to know what to do with that. Um, so
Mm.
it inspired me to create a system, a framework, not just an assessment tool, not just a service. But I wanted to be able to go into something that was strategic, dynamic, and really usable across industries, from organizations and corporations to individuals to coaches using it with their clients to even in the criminal justice setting, because I think it's full circle for me. Because I think had I had a tool like this when I was working with inmates and offenders, I that could tell us exactly what this person needs to succeed, what tools, what strategies they need, as opposed to blanket systems that we use. I guarantee, I say this with conviction, I guarantee our rates of reintegration would be better and our recidivism rates would go down. I know this in my heart of hearts. So that is like my full circle
Wow.
why of, um, really leveraging ourselves to be the best version of ourselves. And it starts with deep awareness and then knowing what to do with that.
That is just such an incredible story. I am just
Mm.
so impressed with
Your
your
trail.
trailblazing ideology. I just absolutely love it. So, tell me a little bit about your vision now. I mean, so you have this incredible tool and you're out, I mean, it's new. So, you've been, out there talking about it and sharing it. What's your vision for the future? What are your hopes to do with this? Or who's your ideal audience?
So we, as Insperai, and the system is called the Strategic Personality Blueprint. I don't think I actually put that out there, or
I don't
SPB.
think you did.
I don't think I did.
Okay.
Um, but
That's
our
okay.
goal is, yeah, our goal is to be the forefront system for understanding and applying personality intelligence across industries. And personality intelligence it's um it's really an unknown field. And it's been the term was coined, by a scientist, professor, And really, it was just understanding the multifaceted parts of our personality. But we took it, then it just kind of stayed there and it stayed in like the scientific or academic setting. But nobody took that and said, well, what about applied personality intelligence? You know, it goes, we know about emotional intelligence, we know about positive intelligence, we know about intelligent quotients, IQ. But what about personality intelligence? And how could we use how we understand ourselves as well as understanding others and using that cohesively to bring about better results, better outcomes on an individual basis or as a team
Wow.
basis.
So,
So our vision is really to improve the understanding of what personality intelligence is, um, and then make it a standard across um, industries. That's something that is used to produce better communication, collaboration dynamics. For corporations, you can improve hiring. You can improve. You can know exactly how your team as it stands, and then you could strategically hire somebody to balance out or fit the team, and it will, reduce mishires, and it will reduce turnover, and team morale will go up, engagement will go up. So our target audience is, I know this sounds really broad, so at the big umbrella term, if it involves humans, that's our target audience. But currently we are focusing on, as this is, a baby little startup um, startup, tech startup, essentially. We are focusing on small
mhm,
businesses, and coaches and
okay,
consultants, and then individuals.
I love that. Okay. So essentially, talk about the process a little bit. So, I mean, someone goes to your website, they find and they complete a quiz, I would assume, something of that. And then do they get results right away, or is it something that you put? I mean, do you on the back end get information? Talk a little bit about how the process of how they discover all this great information about their personality.
Yeah, so right now we're considering ourselves in the white glove um, stage of our um, company. And our next stage, we hope by January of 2026 to have a working model platform, a service, a software service, that everything will be automated. So right now, when it's white glove version, you get me hands on, which really gives an amazing opportunity to use it at this point
Mhm.
because I have your eyes on it. I am making sure everything is tailored exactly how it needs to be, and then you get me working one on one with you to take it from insights to action. Um, so when somebody takes the assessment, it is it the system is a patent pending. We filed for a provisional patent in April. And we have an assessment that you take, and it takes about 20 to 30 minutes to sit down and
Hmm.
take it. It's more than a personality quiz. It's not a fluffy, let's find out what superhero you are or anything like that. It goes
Yeah.
into multi-dimensional parts of who you are. So we took, there's five, essentially, it's measuring five different parts of your personality. So we use DISC, Enneagram, Big Five traits, and then we created a proprietary core values and strengths um, part of the assessment. So it's all in one. And so it's measuring your behaviors, motivations, traits, values, and strengths. And when you take the assessment, we then take the data and manually score it. So it's not automatic. It does take, I say it take a few days because I will manually score the assessment, run the meta-analysis engine, which is the really the heart and soul of this whole tool, that it looks at how all of these assessments interact, if there are patterns that have emerged, Because it's really neat is a lot of times um, assessments will again like look through one lens and they can be really focused and it's really good like the disc can really tell you how you communicate, how you lead. But how does your disc impact your motivations and vice versa, or your values, so
Mm,
you can have contradictions too, which is really neat to see when you have somebody. For instance, if you have I like to say 3Ds walk into a room, three disc Ds walk into a room, and they may
okay.
all on the surface look similar and act similar. They're very direct, they're results driven. Um, but let's say each of them have different enneagrams and traits and values. So you might have one who is an Enneagram 5, and they're very analytical and intellectual, and they need time to process that information. Or then you might have an Enneagram 3 who is, likes to be validated and recognized and is a go-getter and very determined. So on the surface, again, when they're showing up, they're results driven and direct. But then what the underlying motivations, person A might need to go into um has some time to process the information, then they'll come out and they'll be direct. Person
Mhm.
uh, B might be the person that is going to be team oriented and wants to solve it together. So they may have both be identified as disc uh, D, um, but their internal drivers are completely different. So the way that they are approached, the way that they handle their work, the way that they communicate is different. And their needs are different. So we shouldn't just look at somebody from one lens. Um, so going back to once the assessment is done, I take and I run the meta-analysis and then I generate the report and then you will receive the report that you can then either take and review with your coach if a coach is doing it with you, or if you want to do the one-on-one breakdown with me, or you can simply just take the report as is. It gives you specific strategies that are ideal for you, and you get to pick which ones if you want to know um, what are the best networking strategies based on my personality? What are the best
Mm,
time management strategies? Stress reducing strategies, you name it. There's like 26 different strategy areas you can choose from. Um, and then we also give specific recommendations for, these are some podcasts that could be good for you based on your goals and your experiences, because we also don't
mm,
just give you assessment measures. Like a lot of assessments will just have you answer, Likert scale questions 1 through 5 or yes or no. We also ask you specific open-ended questions on what are your obstacles that you're currently facing, what are your predominant stressors or emotions you've been feeling a lot lately, and then what is your desire or goal. So the results you get are specifically tailored to those real lived experiences. So yeah.
that is so great. So Pebblebrook was founded on reconnecting with purpose and navigating
Yeah.
challenge. How does Inspiri build upon that? Just in just that way, it's what it kind of sounds like. You're taking those same concepts and you're just helping people kind of dig a little deeper and learn about themselves. So when they have this information and you share with them some tools or resources they can use, what's the expectation on their part? Like, would they feel like all of a sudden they're enlightened as far as their path forward? Like, aren't we all kind of sitting here going, am I on the right path? Am I doing the right thing? Should I, maybe I'm not in the right industry. Maybe I'd be a better fit someplace else. Or is the hope that that's the big enlightenment piece of it? Or,
Yeah, essentially, you have it pretty much nailed on the head. So Pebblebrook, I like to say, was like the heart of the system, really helping individuals connect with who they are, how they're wired, and how to navigate whatever season of life that they were going through. Inspire and the Strategic Personality Blueprint are like the brain. Um, it's helping people then use that information with precision to reach their desires, reach their goals. Um, so it's similar to personality intelligence. I like to say it's the key to unlocking how we think, feel, and act. And so often, that's 95% of our day, and human behavior is on autopilot, meaning we are constantly think, feel, do, think, feel, do, think, feel, do all day long. And then there's the
Mm,
90-10 principle, which states that 10% of life happens to us, but 90% is in our control based on how we respond, right? But if we're on autopilot nearly all of our time, how much of that control are we actually in? So
mhm.
personality intelligence is the key to unlocking that think, feel, do, and understanding how you think, how you feel, how you act, and how that give produces your results and produces your outcome. So it essentially puts people back in the driver's seat of their life, and takes it off of autopilot and allows you to then take back control.
Wow. I just think it's just incredible. I keep saying that, but I'm just so enamored with the whole concept of it. And maybe that's just because I'm in a time in my life where I'm making a lot of changes and I'm always like, am I doing the right thing? But
Yeah.
anyway, I like how you talked about the labels piece of it. I think
Hmm.
um, labels are just so important. And having a conversation with someone the other day about labels, and it seems like,
Yeah.
even our young people and children are getting, there's just so many now. Um,
Yeah.
and I'm always in the back of my mind, I think, well, as it's important to understand what's happening, especially with children, so we can better help them and help them learn and grow and foster better young lives. I also think part of it is like, can we just hold on a second and not, just jump to that quick conclusion because of
Yeah.
these couple behaviors or that response? Can we hold off on the label piece? I know a good friend of mine works with special needs kids, we had this conversation a really long time ago about that very thing. Just, you know, it's a big decision. It shouldn't be taken lightly, especially with children when you're talking about labels,
Yeah.
because it carries with them. And I think as adults,
Hmm.
then now when we're in a place where we have more mental capacity to want to maybe try to make a change and move out of that or out from under that label, I would better say. I mean, use having a tool like this, I think, would just be uh, invaluable to see
Yeah.
really, maybe they were mislabeled. I mean,
Yeah.
children, we all change, we all evolve, we all grow for different reasons in different
Absolutely.
ways. So I really like
Absolutely.
that label piece of it is a part of this. The other thing, so I love this strategic personality blueprint. I'm gonna
Yeah.
highly recommend this to so many people, especially people that feel misplaced, like,
Yep.
am
Yeah. Yeah.
I maybe,
Yeah.
I really like art, but I work in welding.
Yeah. Right.
I don't know.
Right.
But I have to talk to you about the criminal minds piece of it. So
Yeah.
in your background, and you talked about the prison system, share a little bit about what that was like and how you can see this tool being used in that type of atmosphere.
Yeah. So, first, I want to touch base on when you talked about, before I jump into that, labeling and the evolving part of it of humans. And yeah, again, you hit it on a nail on the head where so often we I think our brains like labels because it gives us a way to help us understand who we are. And it's like, yep,
Mm,
it allows us, it's like cute little box. But we have to remember we're not boxes. We're not necessarily meant to be put in boxes. We evolve, we change. And
mm,
one part of the system when
right.
when it becomes the platform that will allow it to stand out from other tools is that it will evolve with you. The more you use the system, if you have a life event and you put that within the system, it will learn that and it will constantly grow with you, and the strategies will change because it understands that we are dynamic individuals. We are not a simple snapshot in time. It's we're not just a type, we're not just a score. Um, we're not a label. So that is a part that we're really excited about was that it can be used the more you interact with it. Um,
Wow.
it'll evolve with you. So, but moving on to the criminal
Mhm.
justice piece, it's fascinating. The remind me the part two of the question was how to use this again. What was the first part of your question? I apologize.
I'm just so intrigued by the idea of your time
Yeah.
spent in
Yes.
the criminal justice arena and then how this tool, how you could see this really being utilized to
Yeah.
help. I know you talked about with people getting back into society and kind of getting back to work and things
Yep.
like that.
Yep.
But could this
Yep.
be used in other
Absolutely.
ways too?
Yes. Yeah. So it's one thing that I would see constantly with working with inmates, and there's, I understand the criminal justice and any, governmental agency type of situation. A lot of it has to be strict in its way, and it just because of funding sources and the type of a lot of elected officials and judges and just who you're dealing with, and a lot of checks and balances, right? So I get that there needs to be some structure and routine. However, understanding that humans are dynamic and we're not all the same and we don't all thrive with the same strategies. And what we would see time and time again is when I was working directly with them, and let's say somebody goes on probation and they have a substance abuse disorder, and it was a very frequent occurrence that you would have them go and do AA groups, 12-step meetings, and we would have them do that every single day for a set period of time, simply because that was what it was. That's what if somebody has this, then this is the standard that you do. But not everybody succeeded in that way. And so many times we would see somebody either not go, fail to show up, or they would go and then they would go home and
Mm.
relapse. And, understanding, well, why did that happen? And at the time, 15 years ago, you just kind of went with it and said, okay, well, you have to do what you have to do and you need to figure out a way to get around it. But then now, growing and understanding that we are different, what if we had something and we understand that, one person does really well in group settings. That's where they feel the most supported, right? So that person might do well in 12-step meetings, whereas another person, maybe they're completely overwhelmed by group settings and they are just anxious and they shut down and they feel worse when they leave that meeting. They go home and they relapse. They get called in by probation the next day for a drug screen. They turn up positive. They're reprimanded. Perhaps they go to jail. They violate their probation and whatnot.
Mm.
But if we had known based on how these two people are wired, maybe that second person would do much better and thrive with a one-to-one mentor as opposed to making them go to a meeting. So just knowing that we can set people up for success. So, and it's not even that hard. It's just simply knowing how they're wired to say, okay, here are the other resources we can give you. It's not like it's taking a bunch more, money or really hard effort to make
Right.
these things happen. It's just truly taking a moment to understand that people are people and we're different,
Mhm.
and being able to use that to tailor our strategies when it comes to the criminal justice system, and helping them find jobs, helping them understanding, what their skills are and their values and their strengths, and to help the person that's the case manager that's tasked with helping them find employment, um,
Mhm.
and helping them. adhere to their plans, just because they will feel heard and seen, and not just
Mm.
as, an inmate number going through the
Right.
system. Yeah.
And the case manager who's probably already bogged down with so much
Yes,
could use something like this to make
absolutely.
their job so much, easier, but so
Absolutely.
much more efficient because they would be able to say, okay, based on this report, these are the things that are going to be the best fit for you. You're going to be in the
Yeah.
best environment for
Yeah.
recovery or
Absolutely.
rehabilitation. I think it's just
Yeah.
incredible. I mean,
Yeah.
the possibilities are truly endless. Um,
Yeah.
so then with that, well, then I wanted to touch on too, before I forget, um, the calming of the mind.
Yeah.
Now, when you said that, the first thing that popped into my head was there's one way that people like to calm their mind. And that's either with, the CBD
Alcohol.
or
Yep.
the alcohol. I mean,
Yeah.
so I mean, that was what popped
Yeah.
in my
My head
head
was
was
like,
like
yeah.
meditation should be number
Yep.
one. So many people
Yep.
reach for something else. And
Yeah.
share a little bit about, I think it would be really important for our audience to hear um, how much better meditation is than reaching for that substance, um, or the chemical to do that for you. Like, what's it doing to our brain, really? I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, you could see science has shown that obviously introducing substances to our body and our brain is maladaptive, and it's a coping mechanism that's either learned, or it's easier to grab something, especially if you bring addiction into it. But when we talk about meditation, and I want to put out there, a lot of people think that meditation is just blanking your mind, and or Buddhist monks do it, and I can't do any of that. It's really not. There is a form of, sitting for hours and really focusing
mhm,
on that, but really it's essentially just being with your thoughts and being with present moment as is, without judgment, and letting it be. No judging yourself, no judging your surroundings, just being as it is, and tuning in to something. Oftentimes you could say your breath, just to kind of slow slow your heart rate, slow your nerves, bring down the cortisol, and really allow yourself. It's been shown that it does act physically calm your body. It calms things down. Um, but meditation might not be for everybody, right? So that's what
mhm,
another reason when I was looking for a tool is I wanted to know, well, what are the best mindfulness or stress reducing or um, relaxation techniques for people, because it might not be sitting and listening to me talk through a meditation with them, or anything. It
mhm,
could be mindful walking. It could be just taking 10 minutes out in nature. Um, it could be sipping on tea with your friends, having a deep conversation. So,
mm,
understanding that aspect of how you're wired and what techniques are going to work for you, um,
mhm,
makes all the difference in the world, because there are absolutely people out there who it does not work for them to sit in silence, right? They're the person, or working out, that is a form of relaxation, and
mm,
bringing up the endorphins, and just lowering the cortisol, and it really tailoring our efforts to how we're wired, as opposed to fighting it and going, what the trend is, or what your friends suggest. Sure, try it out. It may work for you. But if you could figure out exactly
yeah,
what does, and then go forward and know, and without having to trial and error, you're saving a lot of time, I think. And
yeah,
you're doing
yeah.
you're doing your body justice, doing it a service.
So, essentially what you're saying is meditation or just calming your mind is just simply finding your happy place in whatever form that is.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
the
So
health
for
and the health benefits
benefits
to
to
that
that,
are just tantamount, I think.
absolutely. I mean, meditation works for me. I love it, but that's because I am someone who enjoys internal work and the quiet thoughts and being with and processing internally. My husband, on the other hand, loves to chat. He's that person that would prefer to process things and relax chatting with somebody, going on a walk and chatting with them, or golfing. So it what works for me may not work for you. And I think flipping the stigma of meditation on its head and saying, really, anybody can meditate. It doesn't have to look like sitting cross-legged on the floor with
Hmm.
your eyes closed and your fingers your fingers up or your hands up. So it's like you said, finding what works for you and your happy place, your zen, finding your
Hmm.
own zen.
Yes, there you go. And
Hmm.
I'm not a workout person. I do enjoy
Yep.
meditation, but it's nice to know that because a lot of times I'll pray, during
Yeah.
that because it is hard to quiet your mind. I can't, the
Yep.
thoughts, I try to push them away, but I just get
Totally
so if
natural.
I'm actually having a
Yep.
dialogue in my head, then that it helps me to focus and just,
Yep.
so that's good. Yeah,
And prayer
that's
prayer is a
so
form of
incredible.
meditation. Yeah. And prayer is a form of
Yes.
meditation. It absolutely is. Yeah.
That's so great. All right.
Yeah.
For our listeners who are just
Yeah.
discovering all of your amazing work,
Yeah.
share with us all of your offerings and then how we can find you, and anything else you'd love for us to know, any other insights or events or anything you might have coming up.
So the very first thing that anybody can do is I have what I call my 30-second personality challenge or your personality gut check. And it's 3 questions and I challenge, can we sum up your personality in 1 sentence? And you can find that at www.mypersonalityblueprint.com. That's also where you'll be able to find have a direct link to learning more about the blueprint, learning more about personality intelligence, um, and taking it if you want to take it a step further and really understand who you are. Um, as far as events coming up, I have some things on the horizon where I will be doing some pop-up webinars on how to leverage personality intelligence, whether you are in your workplace or individually. I don't have dates for those yet, but those will be out on the website, um, mypersonalityblueprint.com. You can also learn more about Insperai specifically at Insperai.com, Insperai.com. Um, but if I were to leave you with just a few things to start leveraging personality intelligence immediately, um, I would say
Mhm.
number one, stop using personality as an excuse, right? Stop using it. A lot of times, again, our brain likes those labels, and then we'll say, "Well, I'm introverted, so," or "Because I'm extroverted, so." That's just a part of our who we are, and I would stop falling back on the labels and instead use them as an advantage. I'm introverted, so this means, here are the really unique skills that I can use because my introversion is high. And we're not trying to
Mm.
fix who you are. We're not broken. We're not broken. We have lots of stories
Mm.
to share and lots of stories to tell and lots of stories that made up who we are. It's how we understand those and understand how that allows us to show up and operate and then finding alignment with who we are and stop fighting our wiring and when we start to go with the flow, that's when change can really happen, um,
Mm.
and understanding that insights are great, but applying it and having action with those insights is where your power and the control, you're back in the driver's seat.
Wow, that's so great. That's just so great. It's so simple. And yet we find ourselves fighting these things so often because we think we're supposed to be doing this, or maybe we even invested in learning about something we thought was our
Yeah.
right path. And
Yeah.
so I love the idea that we can just relax and go with the flow.
Go with the
What
flow
a
of who we
concept.
are. Absolutely. And it goes with meditation too. Just
Mhm.
go with it. Just
Yeah.
let your thoughts wander and stop judging ourselves. We're our own worst critic, right? And so
Mm,
if we understand we all have stories that have shaped who we are, let's
mhm.
understand those and use those to our advantage as opposed to having them be the weight holding us down.
Yeah, absolutely. What is that? If it's not a blessing, it's a lesson.
Yes.
One or the two. Yeah.
Yep.
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 There's always
Yeah.
something to learn. Everything is there for a reason, and we're all here for a reason too. And I think
Yeah.
your strategic personality blueprint is going to help people really figure out what that is. And it might give some
Yeah.
people a lot of just, I don't know, relief
Yep.
for sure.
Yep. Yeah. So
Well,
a
I'm
really
looking forward to it.
simple way to describe the blueprint is or personality intelligence. It's like the GPS for your life, right? It tells you exactly how to get from point A to point B. It evolves as conditions change, and it's the most accurate to who you are. So it's using GPS when everybody else is using maps. Well, let's stop using maps. Let's use GPS for our life.
So, and I was also noticing, and you spelled out Insperai, and I
I
noticed
did
it
AI.
ends with an AI, and
Yep.
there is some AI elements to this, correct?
There is, yes. It was that was planned. That was on purpose. Actually, the original spelling, we had the I and the E backwards. And then when we were figuring it out, we're
Mm.
like, oh, that's usable. That's a little nod because it is AI backed. The meta-analysis engine is AI AI powered, and when the service, the platform becomes live, we are creating our own AI engine, getting it off of its currently right now
Wow.
we're using ChatGPT and open data for our engine, but the goal is to create our own. So it will be our own brain essentially, that will be, HIPAA certified and all of the things. So privacy, all of that will be, it's important to people and to us that, our information is safe.
Yes, and I see great things for your future, Rachel. I feel like
Yeah.
this is just the beginning. So congratulations to you on
Thanks, Kristen.
on this incredible tool you've created and all of the attributes that go along with it. I'm just so happy for you.
Thank you, Kristen.
Thank you so much for joining us for this week's edition of the Savvy Leader podcast. We were so glad to have you. Be sure to check out the savvyleaderslounge.com for further inspiration and resources to help you be the savvy leader you are always meant to be. See you next time.